It's 2 a.m., and your brain is replaying a 3-second comment from a meeting, adding catastrophe with each loop. This isn't just thinking too much. It's a cognitive trap called rumination, and it's hijacking your life. Overthinking isn't a sign of deep intelligence. It's a cognitive habit, a neural pathway worn deep through repetition. Psychologists distinguish between reflection, which helps solve problems, and rumination, which keeps you stuck. Rumination is the endless, passive focus on distress without action. It's like spinning wheels in mud. You expend enormous energy and go nowhere. Research shows habitual ruminators are at significantly higher risk for depression, anxiety, and even cardiovascular problems. A landmark study found that high ruminators were 4 times more likely to develop major depression. The paradox? Overthinkers believe they're solving something, but they're just rehearsing fear. The brain's default mode network, or DMN, is active when you're not focused on external tasks. It's where daydreaming and self-reflection live. But in chronic overthinkers, the DMN goes into overdrive. Neuroimaging shows hyperconnectivity between regions that tag thoughts as personally important and emotionally charged. A neutral comment becomes a threat. A minor mistake becomes evidence of inadequacy. This isn't a failure of willpower, it's a failure of neurocircuitry. Overthinkers get stuck in the DMN and can't shift to focused, goal-directed activity. The good news? This switch can be trained. When you ruminate, you trigger a physiological stress response. The amygdala interprets repetitive negative thoughts as real dangers, activating the HPA axis and flooding your system with cortisol. Chronic rumination elevates baseline cortisol, impairing hippocampal function, critical for memory and emotional regulation. A Stanford study found that just 8 minutes of rumination increased cortisol and decreased cognitive flexibility. Overthinking doesn't just feel bad, it literally makes you dumber in the moment. You become less creative, less able to see alternatives, and more likely to make poor decisions. Rumination is self-punishment disguised as diligence. Overthinking doesn't emerge in a vacuum. A key predictor is the quality of early attachment relationships. Children with inconsistent or critical caregivers learn to hyper-monitor their environment and internal states as a survival strategy. They develop an anxious attachment style, characterized by a constant fear of rejection and a tendency to ruminate on relationships. This pattern often persists into adulthood, making overthinking a deeply ingrained response. But understanding these roots offers a path forward, because what was learned can be unlearned. Rumination feels productive because it mimics problem solving, but it's actually a form of avoidance, a way to stay in your head instead of taking action. Overthinkers often believe that if they think enough, they'll find the perfect solution. This is an illusion. The brain's prefrontal cortex gets flooded with emotional noise, impairing executive function. The result? You're less capable of making decisions. The antidote is action bias, doing something, anything, that breaks the loop. Even small steps, like writing down a worry or taking a walk, can shift brain activity from the DMN to task-positive networks. The good news is that the brain is plastic. With practice, you can weaken the rumination habit. One powerful technique is cognitive diffusion, observing thoughts without getting caught in them. Instead of "I'm a failure," you learn to say, "I notice I'm having the thought that I'm a failure." This creates distance. Another is scheduled worry time, setting aside 15 minutes daily to ruminate, then postponing all worries until then. Studies show this reduces overall rumination by up to 35%. The key is consistency. Each time you redirect attention, you strengthen new pathways and weaken old ones. Overthinking is not a life sentence. It's a pattern that can be disrupted. By understanding its neuroscience and psychological roots, you gain the power to step out of the loop. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to stop thinking in circles. With practice, you can train your brain to shift from rumination to reflection, from fear to curiosity. This is the path to mental freedom, and it starts with one small step: noticing the loop and choosing to break it. If this resonated with you, remember, overthinking is a habit, not a destiny. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and take that first step toward freedom.